Get started. Recording just started. How's everyone doing today? Those of you with video, you can smile and wave or put thumbs up, thumbs down. Everyone's okay? Lawal has his hand off his face somehow. Usually he's got the usual position. Okay, so you're on mute.
I'm saying like some people are smiling without the video. Just
chat smiling.
Chat smiling.
Yeah. All right, so Yevabel had a good idea to call this a retrospective, the Friday. So we promised the leaderboard last night and we managed. We were 13 minutes before the end of day on GMT. So it took a little bit of time. So I'm happy to say that we didn't just manage in the Hawaii time zone. We managed in one of our course time zones. So it took a bit of while. It took a bit of time. But before we get into that, so the schedule is online. We're trying to do better. I got the time wrong for today's stand-up. But our goal is that schedule is a single place where everyone can be and log in and get all the links. So we're going to be keeping that up to date. Keep an eye out that before the start of next week, we'll have the full schedule for the week that's posted. Yeah, it's been a bit of a funny week with the kind of forking off in two different directions. We have the Ethiopian pre-training assessment made slightly more complicated by the fact that internet has not been restored in all of Ethiopia. So we have people coming back at different times. So during the week, we have people who are just joining and trying to catch up. So it is a little bit complicated, but by Monday next week, we aim to have some number of new candidates joining us. So we're looking forward to that. So today is a relatively light day. There's a poll that's been posted in the week 1 channel asking people if anyone wants to who wants a kind of feedback session on the week 1, especially on the reporting side. I think Yevabel has covered the coding side quite well. It's possible that we'll make time to do that as well. So it'd be good to get people's feedback. I see responses coming in. So we have 6 people saying strongly agree, including some people here on this call. So if that's a go, if more people want that, then we will go ahead and schedule that for this afternoon. CVs, please do submit your CVs to Dia Priya. She's going to be getting them back to you. I'll be providing some input there as well. It does take a while to get a good CV together, and so please do submit. You will be getting feedback. We will be using that in as the process gets towards the end. And the last 2 things before we get into a bit of detail on the feedback on week 1, the sort of last housekeeping type of stuff. So next week, we're going to have another weekly challenge. We're going to be releasing the weekly schedule in advance. So on Sunday evening, you'll get the weekly challenge. And what we plan to do is to have it due next Saturday. So that's doing our best to make Sundays free. But the weekly challenge will be due on Saturday. So in response to not necessarily direct feedback, but some of you looking pretty tired, aiming to do releasing on Sunday, coming back on Saturday, so that people have Sundays to do whatever they need to do. And what we will be doing for the next weekly challenge is making the late policy clear. So this time we took a positive approach, and those people who submitted on time, they got a 20% bonus, and it was about 30% of people who submitted on time, and that was great. And that meant that some people really, their already good work went a little bit further. But we are going to be enforcing, and it'll be published, the late policy. Why is the late policy important? We are doing our best to simulate a work-like environment, obviously not a real work environment. But if you consistently submit stuff that's late to work, it will become a problem for you. And I can guarantee you, or almost guarantee you, that your career will start to slow down pretty fast. People will stop trusting you, start submitting stuff late. So we'll be doing that. And then straight on to the week 1 challenge. So before getting into details, Yevabel wanted to discuss the fact that 50% of you are recommending to the Nike Corporation, a master of advertising, that they align themselves with the COVID-19 hashtag, which is slightly mind-blowing. Even if the data says it, I have yet to see somebody trying to enter a new market by saying, I don't know, I don't know what they would say around COVID-19, the air corona, forget COVID, buy shoes. It's a bit surprising. So that's I don't even know what to say. Please don't do it unless you guys are marketing geniuses at a level at a level which is beyond my comprehension. And the day you guys show up and say, please, I'm recommending based on the data that you use COVID-19 to enter a new market. Maybe if you're Corona beer, but beyond that, okay, Evabel, over to you.
I mean, I think it's this is where, like, in our one of the overview, just like in the skills and the knowledge, there is ethics, and there is, because what is the point of doing data analysis is to actually increase in every sense. It could be profit, it could be whatever, but it's the survivability of a company is important in the longer term, not just only in a shorter term, right? So if you just even look at it, okay, let's say, some things are obvious like Corona, but some things are not. Like, and so the part that I think some of you probably didn't even think about it because you just saw, like, okay, there was an excess. People are posting a lot on Corona, like related thing, and then you thought, oh, like, let's get into that conversation. I think there are a number of ways you could look at it. Like from my side, just one is that, okay, what are you advertising? Are you advertising just, like for Nike, just to enter a new market? And you could have one way that I could look at it is like, okay, you could just say, oh, a few companies are kind of doing humanitarian assistance because they can. And so maybe, instead of trying to sell that, but they probably can contribute positively, just like Google does, Amazon does. They kind of, for example, provide some assistance. Amazon does like cloud computing for free for people who are working on Corona related. So if you were trying to think that way, I would say that's a different thing. But in the longer term, if you really just anything that comes, like disaster comes, people talk about disaster, earthquake, and now you just say like, okay, let's have a shoe that, let's advertise a shoe with respect to that. That would be like completely would be exactly against what you're doing, which is, it's called causation and association and possession. It's which you have to really think about your results. I think that's the best I can say, because I think Arun, just by laughing at it, already communicated everything I should have said. In a sense, I think it's also obvious when someone comes and tells you like, okay, like as a company, you come and say just, oh, shall we use like Corona to sell our shoe? I think that already kind of tells you, if you think about it, probably you would say no. Like, I mean, hopefully that's my point. So yeah, I think just that's what I would like to add. But there is a number of advantages, or the number of outside the box thinking that you could use that big conversation. Because what does it mean, big conversation? It means people are kind of interested in it, but they probably don't want you to use that to sell them shoe. But you could probably, given that you are a company, a corporate with a bigger, a longer term outlook, you could assist them to pass that challenge, that kind of like, and that's what big companies, respectable companies are doing. And you could turn in that way, in the recommendation. But other than that, I think I would say just, yeah. So this is the first challenge, but you should really, in the next ones, you should really take into deep reflection. I mean, at the end, at least, even if you don't have that much time, what you are writing and what you are saying, as just because the data says so, it doesn't mean you have to just literally translate it.
And I think that's an important point. Your job. So one thing that we want to do slightly differently here is we don't just want to teach you to run the data. You should know how to do code, but we don't just want to teach you to run the data. We want you to answer questions that the business is asking. And this is part of the reason why from week one, and we will be doing this going forward, we are making sure that you are reporting and trying to answer questions, because just putting the data out there and not answering the question isn't the type of preparation that we want to provide.
Yeah.
So keep in mind that the data that you are analyzing is one input. One of the huge advantages that you have uniquely is that each of you understands the context in which the data is being created, be it taxi data or credit scoring data or mobile phone data. If you take the data as one input, but also take your knowledge of how the real world works as an additional input, don't let one of them overwhelm the other.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, I think it's I think the part that I would like just to stress on that is asking, answering question, and really kind of thinking about it, saying like, does your suggestion does it address other than just what the data says? If the data says like, yeah, there is nothing, there is nothing even valuable, so that's sometimes what people miss. It's like when you don't find something, it could be an opportunity, right? So it's just the data so there's a data analysis part and then the data interpretation part. So and where as a data scientist you are going to be paid a lot more, unlike, for example, if you are hired as a data analyst sometimes compared to data scientist, is that the data analyst, you probably would just provide the data to someone to interpret it. And as a data scientist, usually you have to incorporate like that part as well. Usually you will be also in a group, like a data science group, but you have to incorporate that like problem identification. Aaron likes that statement mostly. It's a very hard to understand, this problem identifier, but that's really the point. Like when you see opportunity, you have to just go and get it. Like it's not like only just that you will arrive from A to B because B was the plan. But sometimes as a data scientist, you are closer inspecting the data together, as if like you are also the CEO, as if you are also the salesperson, as if you are, the mathematician who needs, to design something. So it's like, that's what really this, when we say data scientist, it means it's a multidisciplinary field, which incorporates domain knowledge, computing knowledge, as well as also statistical knowledge. Just why is that? I mean, sometimes it's like you may not understand. I run machine learning, I just get a result. So that's it, But the thing about the statistical part comes like, what are you really actually sampling in the end? Like, what is like this where the data comes and how that is related, whether it's like this causation or this kind of relationship you saw between two variables, let's say between the label and the feature, is that actually a part of like proper statistics, which is a caused, or is it just like accidental relationship? You have to be able to judge that based on different metrics. So it's actually, this is why as a data scientist, you have to always be like kind of looking out for opportunities, trying to hand any other problems that comes on your way that could lead probably to a better for the company. Probably that would be the more source of income. So I think I'm talking a lot, but I just want to give one example. For example, in our company we were doing just for our campaign managers who are like just in the front doing campaigns. So we want to assist them with an algorithm. But then we just realized like the data they have been using actually could be sold, because it's not only just for them that is useful, but the product that we are making for them can be used as another source of income. So suddenly like the small project we were doing for them turned out to be now our bigger, like for the data science group, this becomes like a bigger asset for the company. And the company was just only hiring us for a few months as a contractor. Now it wants to extend it for a longer period. So it just out of small sometimes things, you can actually create a bigger impact that could shift even the company's direction, because you have that power. You control, basically you are at the gate of like the data in and the data out. You collect the data, you kind of like analyze it, but at the same time, you are also looking into different opportunities. So that's kind of, I want you to have that picture always, like when you think of you as a data scientist and having different hats, a hat as a statistically making sense of it. I had as just computing, which is like improving the speed and whatever part of it, and as a domain knowledge or as CEO or as a salesperson to actually then also just understand how useful it is for that particular thing you want. So that with that, I will just stop and then we can continue.
Jean, do you want to add something based on your experience working, for example, at NPM?
Yes, I think I have been talking about that with you guys during the play assessment week.
Jean, can you speak up? We can't hear you
Ah,
so well.
yes. Yeah. So I was just saying that I have been sharing this experience during my tutorial and also the assessment week already. But yes, well, what I will just say is that yes, I agree with Yabi in terms of the role of the data scientist is just more complete than any other role from my side, from my own experiences. You could be just depending on the company, if you are just recruited like a data analyst. I don't know if it depends also of the level of maturity of the company, because some just hire a data analyst and then give him a data scientist role. So the data scientist role cover a lot of things, and apart from the statistical part, apart from the machine learning coding part, you should be able to interpret, to see the relationship before, to like the kind of thinking you could just have, like the kind of intuition you are supposed to have before you jump in the data. So you cannot just come and just say yes in between this and this variable. We could just have this relationship. You should be based on something. So this is the kind of pre-intuition I would say you should have. And then by analyzing the data, yes, you should also be able to provide nice interpretation, the inclusion and the things like that. So according to the area of work, is depends. It's really depends. So if you are doing analysis, for example, for HR, or if you are doing analysis for marketing, or if you are, let's say, for example, comparing a lot of drawing. Rosie, I told you about that, how social media is useful, but then it's become necessary if you do the analysis and then you are not able to provide useful insight from your analysis or to justify what you just get as a result. This is not going to be useful, because from my own experiences, I know that many of the managers don't care about the data science techniques you are using behind. They want to see the result. And now, if you provide the result, they are where are they going to test you is just the time you are testing your result in the real world data, and then it's provide a good result. So for example, I remember the first machine learning algorithm I run. I was not even asked to do that. I was just like recruited to perform like a data analyst, like doing some visualization, dashboard and reporting about the business performances on weekly performance basis or daily report. But I was just like, I look at the data and I just diagnose some things, and I say, then yes, you are. They just created a new product, and the product should not be sell to all the database, all the customer base. So now they just select randomly some customers, and then they patch the product for those customers. So now when I look at the data and I look at the first week performance for this specific product, I just diagnose that yes, this product is not matching to the right customer. So why I explore the data, I make a quick data analysis, exploratory analysis, and from there, I set up a problem. So the problem was, how do we actually predict the customer who are just going to have a very high probability of adoption for this specific product? So it depends on the profile of the customer, and it depends on the profile of all the customer compared to those who have actually adopted this product. So from, let's say we just multiply the revenue, the amount of money we get by selling this product on daily basis was just multiplied by, let's say, by 50. By 50, when I just run a linear, let's say a logistic regression. So logistic regression is actually to perform the binary classification. So let's say, like in this case, the problem was how do we predict good takers, good adoption. So how do we compute the probability for a specific customer to adopt the product, and how do we detect the class of the customer based on the probability? So now, once I do that, I identify the problem, but they even don't understand. They even don't understand the beginning. So I actually identify the problem. I propose that, and I did that as an extra work. And once I did that, the model was ready, and I use now that model to select new customer. I say, yeah, these those lists you was using before to manage the campaign and pass the product to the customer was not the right one. Use this because I'm sure that those customer has a better probability of adoption than the one you was targeting. So now we just experience that, and they even don't know even the statistical property behind, even the mathematics behind, even the coding part. They don't. Some people don't care about that. What they want to see the manager at the management level, for example, is how do we get how did your model is performing. So once we use that, we just multiply the daily revenue by 50. So now it's become very useful. And everyone start asking, how did you do it? How do you manage that? So you will be just managing this kind of information where you are maybe supposed to do some work, and but I highly advise you to try to explore other horizons. Try to see apart from your job description, is there anything as a data scientist you could just diagnose from your data, from your explanatory data analysis, and just set up like a problem. So you identify the problem clearly, and using now your machine learning skills or your data science skills, now all the things you will be learning here. Can you just imagine a kind of solution, a solution, because maybe at the beginning you are not supposed to do that, but imagine a quick solution, and from there you demonstrate now that it's important to do these things now in the teams. So now from there they will just adopt, and you are you will be requested to manage those kind of things. And this is a kind of things you can actually do to progress in your career, for example. Yes. So this is an experience I can share with you guys. There are there are many other experiences you will be certainly. I will be sharing with you things as we are progressing in the training and as they are coming in my mind. But this is the one I want to share today. Be proactive. Don't just see what you are requested to do, but if you have an innovative idea, if you have things like can just test and see that yes, there is some. I saw those kind of students when I was grading some of the notebook. Yes, some are just doing extra things like I just asked some questions. Like they actually propose me three ways of answering the same question, and I find it very useful because I even don't test that. But by grading you guys, I just learned a lot. So that's why I say a data scientist don't know everything. You have to be learning, even from the junior data scientist. Yes, you have to be learning every day because things are moving quickly in the industry. And as the intersection of our domain knowledge is huge, like if you are working as a telecommunication data scientist, it's different from if you are working as an HR data scientist, or it's different as if you are working in the agro a domain or whatever domain. Is actually a lot of things. So always doing research, and yes, that's all I will think.
Great. Okay, Jean, thank you. Jean always has lots of interesting insights from the real world, and I have nothing much more interesting to say. So I'm just going to do a couple of last announcements, and then we're going to go into a feedback session quickly. So last announcements around the week 1 challenge. So you won't get a final grade on the Jupyter notebook. We've graded the rest of the work, and what's covered in the Jupyter notebook has already been graded. We feel between GitHub and the reports, it was substantially the same. So for this week, we did ask you to submit the Jupyter notebook, but you won't receive a specific grade back on that. We will be sharing sample reports and slides. We've reached out to some people and making sure that they're okay with it. So we're looking to share 2 to 3 example reports and slides. So we'll be doing that in Slack. And based on the poll results, we will be having a session this afternoon. I'll make an announcement. I'll update the calendar on when that'll be held. 3 last points before we get into feedback from my side. There's lots of high quality work. And so we see that in this group of people, there are a lot of high potential people. And we think given a bit more, so there's lots of high quality work. And there's also the second group that has strong potential. And if they had a little bit more time, they could have taken it up a notch. So those people who did, they got the feedback, keep on going, keep working. A lot of you know that you could have done a little bit better, completed your reports, done a bit better on the code. Keep working hard. And for those of you who really, really struggle, please do reach out to us, or we will be reaching out to you. But remember that everyone who is here is able to manage the course. Our selection process was long and we did it carefully and based on our experience. So if you are here, you are able to manage the course. So if there are extenuating circumstances, that's something else. But don't give up. If you are here, you will be able to manage.
So can I second on that, because I think it is very important to stress this is the first week, and it requires a different, it's not the whole data science, it's a particular type of data science, and there will be another where probably some people would perform better, right? So, and I just want to say, just don't look at just the one time kind of performance, and really just to kind of neutralize, like your skills would come and you probably would perform better than even what you expect sometimes as you go on. So I think, yeah, really just take this one as a kind of comment, feedback, to say like, okay, I need to work a little bit more. If you are, in the later groups, like you are ranked, just that means one way or another, you kind of were struggling. And so it's kind of like you just want to say like, okay, now I want to learn, I want to improve. And I know how people performed and how, the kind of like, it was obvious also, and some people kind of easily got it, either because they had experience or because they worked hard. And so like, I think really just take that as an inspiration, because here is an opportunity where you can actually become in 3 months somewhere where like, just totally in the other side of like your career. So, and not only just don't give up, just actually take it as a positive feedback. Okay, I need to work more. I need to be kind of like, maybe my strategy that I followed, I need probably to look at it and improve in it. So it's more like take a look at yourself with the feedback, like the ranking basically can give you as a feedback, okay, like, I need to ramp up my speed, or like keep going in my speed, at least because I'm doing good. So just that kind of feedback, interpret it that way.
Great. So I'm going to post 3 questions in the chat window, and just asking for volunteers, about 5, maybe a bit more, so if you want to go ahead. But we want people to just talk about 3 things very briefly, 1 to 2 minutes. What went right in terms of the week 1 challenge, in terms of this tight 1-week challenge? What went right? What could have gone better? And what can we do to make things better for the next weekly challenge? So looking for tight feedback. So who wants to speak?
Yeah, it's better just if you type your name, or like I want, then just Aaron can call a name.
All right, Lawa.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah. So about the last week challenge, well, it was interesting and challenging. Well, it's a challenge. But then I felt if when we had the interim submission, I felt okay. The interim submission, we didn't know about it before. It would have been better if we knew about it beforehand. But I see the points where the 10 academy team is coming from. Like the interim helped to like push us faster than we could have, because personally I would have lagged behind than I did if I didn't have to submit the interim. So I just read the interim. We were told about the interim like upfront before the submission, before the Wednesday, because I think we got to know on Tuesday. I don't know, I can't remember it. So, and aside from that, I actually think the the workload is kind of too much. And I like the fact that okay, you're now moving the submission to Saturday, and well, it's like a two-edged sword, because now I feel like okay, I have a lot more to do within 6 days, and I have Sunday to myself now to as a free day. But then at the same time, I would have like to have it to work on, to have longer time to work on it. But then I prefer it to be Saturday, so I have to give up one for the others. So I would like to have my Sunday to myself. So I think that's the contribution I have. And this week, personally, I'm still struggling with it. But the session we had yesterday with us was really insightful. I mean, I attended the session. I've had to watch it again throughout the night again, and I think I've gotten one or two things, and I should be able to kickstart on how to collect all the handles and everything. So I hope I can finish before the week runs out, so that I can be invigorated to start the next week on a fresh note. So yeah, that's just my contribution. Thank you.
Well noted. Okay. Yeah, clarity of information, clarity on due dates. Each of you, we are committed to keep making these things better as we go. Well noted. Anyone else want to give feedback? Ada? I'm not sure how to pronounce your name.
Okay, good morning, everyone. From my end, it's actually a request. The way you're responding to our submissions on a more personal level, like I've received a comment on the reports, the slides, and the links, but you're not responding about our code. I know how to write good code is not maybe part of your package, but if maybe you could give us some insights on the same, it would be really nice. Thank you.
Okay.
I think that's a good part. Like from this one, I think today I started, for those people who contributed in the code in Git, I am giving very more exactly that detail feedback, what to change before I accept. Because up to now I was accepting simply just as long as someone is able to actually ask pull request. But from this week's on, I think if anyone wants to contribute, then I can give a very detailed comment on that, because it's much harder to give feedback for the reports and the slides. We could write on it using Google Class, but for the notebook, we can't easily do that. But if you submit through the GitHub, then we can actually give comment in GitHub, like in a more detailed level. So probably we'll change strategy, submitting all codes through GitHub so that we can give detailed feedback like that.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? We'd like 3 more people, please.
Okay, hello. Can I go ahead?
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the talk, Yabeba and Jean. It was really insightful. So I was really happy with the leaderboard of the new policy that has been implemented there. I really admire what's happening there. So please, I would love to talk about group project. Like, I don't know if there's a way we can make it more like, I don't know, whether the industry is something that has to do really with group something, and if it really needs group project, so whether there's a way we can make it possible for us to work in group, like different groups, different week possibly, and they record how they are working together. That is just what I have to say. Thank you.
I think that, go on, Arun.
No, it's a good idea. I don't know how to implement it right now. Maybe later on in the training.
So I think from our side, the data science perspective, I think we thought, and I think there will be a group project as we get into the 6 weeks, because that will be implementing. We'll be working on Zindi and Kaggle, and at that level, it's not going to be easy in 1 week to do just for one person. So that will be just the time where you will work as a group and kind of get in the rank. So I think by then also you will be able to, because right now we also want an individual contribution. So we want to see at least until some level you kind of discuss each other and all that through Slack. But the implementation we want to see, and everyone just kind of get equalized somehow, and just understand the format. But then once we start really actually targeting real life jobs where you could earn money and get rank such that you get into this, you know, a portfolio that globally, you know, it's kind of accreditation for us. Being in the top rank in Zindi and Kaggle is basically just an accreditation that you will have, which otherwise, you know, some people might say, oh, what is 10 Academy? But now you definitely will have 10 Academy plus getting into a good rank in Kaggle and Zindi. And for that, we will start implementing groups. So until then, we'll think about if there are any other things we'll do, but I think that's the plan.
Okay. Anyone else? And this feedback is appreciated. Please don't, everybody, please don't be shy. Just like we're saying we want to learn from data, we're asking you to give us data so we can decide what to do.
Yeah, this is good comment, for example, just gives us, yeah, to look into it.
No? Okay. So then keep an eye out on the schedule for next week. Keep an eye. We'll have a session this afternoon on report writing, and otherwise the next major update will happen on Sunday. We'll be publishing the weekly challenge, the schedule for next week. First thing on Monday morning, we'll also be scheduling a discussion about the weekly challenge. So about 12 hours after you get the challenge, a chance to ask discussions, ask for clarification. Points noted from our side, more feedback on the coding side of things, that we want clarity on when things will be due, thinking about group work. Yeah. All right. Great job, everyone. Please remember, keep pushing hard. Each of you, some of you have done great work, some of you have shown great potential, but everyone that is here will be able to finish the journey if they want to. So let's say week 1.5 is done, and not done, but this is the end, coming to the end of week 1.5, and looking forward to the next 11 weeks together.
Great, all right, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.